It's the Dream It Alive show. I am your host, Ash Kumra, co-founder of DreamItAlive.com. DreamItAlive.com is a global community guiding you to create your dream life with visualization tools, dream boards, and helpful personal development content. Check it out, DreamItAlive.com. It's a free site, so why not take that next step, become the best version of you, and join DreamItAlive.com. So as you guys probably know by now, I'm a big advocate on visualizing, manifesting your life, leveraging dream boards, and looking at helpful content to make it happen. And I'm really excited about today's guest because I think he epitomizes all three of these areas. Arel is probably one of the most gifted communicators I've ever met, and countless people have probably can state that. I mean, the guy is speaking to over 100,000 people. It's amazing. I mean, he's written a best-selling book. He has an insanely awesome podcast, which we'll get to as well. I mean, he's been recognized by our own President Obama. He has been, recognized by Black Enterprise Magazine. USA Today recognized him. He is just this insanely great, high energy, high motivating person. And why I wanted Arel on this show, quite simply, is because we all have dreams of being the best communicator. We all want to be that most likable person. And it really takes a certain master of communication to really inspire us all to reach this level. And I really feel Arel is one of those people. And what's great about Arel is that he's one of us. He wasn't born on some divine Himalayan mountain. He wasn't blessed with these gifts from day one. He had to work hard. And his whole story of his upbringing to, finding his own right message to launching this branded, Likeable kind of media company that does all these great things is something that is really, really amazing. And, one of the things I remember is this was probably in 2007, or I should say 2009, 10 timeframe. I'm sorry. I got to meet him for the first time. And this guy is like a rock star. I mean, if anyone has ever seen Tony Robbins speak, imagine Arel at that level. I really felt that. I mean, even at that time, he just knows how to anticipate what the crowd wants. He knows how to anticipate what they need. And he just goes into it. He just gets into this really amazing state of flow. And that's what I really like about him. And it's a really, really awesome time place. So in 1 second, we are going to get Arel on air, and it's going to be really, really fun time. So stay tuned, guys. Arel, how you doing today, man?
I'm good. What's going on, Ash? How you feeling, brother?
Hey, man, doing awesome. So Arel, I am the self-proclaimed public relation guy for you. Besides always asking you to come out to California, I'm always pumping you up. But what's really easy to do is that all the stuff I say is so legitimate, and you've done so much, man. I mean, I'm just so the audience knows, how old are you?
I'm 31 now, so I'm not as young as I once was.
You're 31, yet you have spoken to over 100,000 people. You've been in over, I have 43 states. I mean, you've done more than that now, right?
Yeah, the numbers increased just a little bit. We've impacted over 200,000 lives in 46 out of the 50 states, 5 different countries. So it's exciting to be able to do that.
Wow. Okay, well, you might think you're old, but man, for all the comps you've done, you're quite young, my friend. Wow, that's amazing.
Thanks a lot, brother.
Well, I want to understand your journey because, okay, so right now, I mean, you are one of the country's top speakers. You have this amazing platform with the whole Likeable podcast and other media you're doing. But I want to understand who Arel is. How did you get to where you are? So why don't you give us a glimpse into how you became who you are right now?
Well, the background starts, I grew up in the projects in Brooklyn, New York on welfare for the first 18 years of my life. So when I got into college, that's when I really kind of started to assert my independence. But I envied a lot of people because I didn't know what I wanted to do. Everyone came in and like, yeah, I'm going to be an engineer, I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to be a lawyer, I'm going to do all that stuff. And I didn't know. And it was kind of through luck that I kind of stumbled upon entrepreneurship. And I read a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which I recommend everybody and their mama read at least twice because it's such a powerful read. And it got me onto this journey of saying, well, I want to start a business. I want to be like, my own man and all that stuff. And from there, I met an amazing mentor who was a professor of entrepreneurship at my university, who was an amazing gentleman. He had built $1 million businesses, retired, and wanted to teach to kind of give back. And from there, I started my first company, which was a off-campus housing platform to help students find places to live. Built that for 4 years. But the best thing about it was I started that having no idea how to do any of it, no idea what to do, and just making every mistake I possibly could. But the best thing that came from it is that while I was building it, I went to tons. I was smart enough, at least at that age, to know that I was an idiot. So I would go to tons of events where they had speakers and different platforms for people to share their knowledge. And I absolutely fell in love with the idea of being able to present a message in a powerful way in a succinct period of time that can make life-changing results. And from there, that really is what built my desire to do that. And the funny thing is I thought I had to be a 50-year-old guy to do it, so I didn't take any action towards it until I spoke to someone who said, well, why don't you help students make good decisions and speak from a big brother point of view versus a father figure point of view. And that was everything I needed to start working with students and speaking to colleges and high schools across the country. And as I did that, making every mistake in the book, which I'm happy to talk about some of those if you'd like.
Let's dive into that right now. What are some of those mistakes you made?
Sure. Well, you make a lot of mistakes, like you think that what you have to say is what people are willing to pay for, which isn't the case. One of the most important things that I found as anyone who's interested in speaking is that what you need to find out, at least in my opinion, is where do people already have pains and budgets that problems they need to be fixed? And then you fit what you do within the best platform that works for you. So a perfect example is I may have wanted to help kids build confidence, and that's a big part of what we do when we do a lot of non-cognitive skill building. But there may not be a budget that says confidence. It's like it doesn't exist. But if I found out there's things like student success and student leadership. So if I can come in and say, hey, I'm the best student success speaker you've ever seen, and here's all the reasons. I would never actually say that, but you get the point. Like, here's the great results we would have. And then I say the way that we get to this goal is by helping them build their confidence. So I spent years trying to figure out what I wanted to talk about solely without even caring about what the market wanted. And I think that's a big mistake people make. The other mistake that people make that is a horrible mistake, and I see it all the time, and so many people reach out to me about, hey, I want to be a speaker, and I want to do what you do, but they think they're already the best thing since sliced bread, and there's no opportunity for growth. And as soon as someone starts telling me about how amazing they are, I tune them out, because I'm not in a field about me being amazing. I'm in a field about how I help people and how I act as a medium to help people. And as long as that's where my mindset is, I'll be in the right place. But as long as it's about me and how great I already am, I'm missing the boat. So I always have to humble myself and realize that I happen to have dedicated my life to something in which I can be a medium of exchange of life-changing good for people. And I think a lot of people get so self-centered that that's how they become divas and devos and forget about the good impact we can make.
I love that medium conversation. I want to kind of shift the gear for a sec, diving into that a little further. The medium, for me at least, when I hear the word medium, I feel it as like it's your divine calling, your divine right. And when that comes to my mind, I think, okay, faith and God or whatever thing you believe in has an impact. Has religion or faith or anything of that sort helped impact the person you are, at least in terms of your career calling?
Yeah, I think that no matter who we are in this world, we have to be connected to something that is greater than ourselves. I happen to be a very religious person, and I happen to have a strong belief, my belief system in God. And just because I do it that way doesn't mean it's the only way. But for me, when life literally punches you in the stomach and you have no air left and everything seems to be crumbling around you, for me, knowing that I have something bigger that I believe, my genuine belief is every single bad thing that happens to me is a blessing I haven't realized yet. But if I don't have a belief in a higher being, then if I get punched in the stomach by life, I just think life is brutal and sucky. So it gives me peace and it gives me strength during the times where I feel absolutely lost. So for me, it's played a huge role in my ability to get through the tough times and to celebrate the good times.
I love that. That's poetic and very inspiring at the same time. I want to kind of dive a little more into the guidance you give others in terms of how they can find their authentic message. I'll give you a personal example with you. I don't even know if you remember this, but I have been speaking for a little while off and on, and when I first started off, I used to just do a lot of like, hey guys, this is what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur. This is what you go through and things like that. And I remember this was the first time we met. You actually like canned my speech. You're like, hey, can I give you feedback? And I'm like, yeah. And you gave me like these 2 pages of notes. It was pretty much like, you're not authentic. This isn't real. Quit trying to be something you're not. Quit trying to fake it till you make it. It was really impactful actually. And since then, with you and some other teachers in my life, I've actually crafted my message to be not really about what I've done, but really about what I've seen others done. And I'm just become a medium of hearing from successful people like yourself and then try to share that with other people, because not everyone gets to meet you. So if they don't get to meet you and I get to meet you, why not share what you're doing? And that's kind of one of the reasons why I did this show, is because I wanted to showcase these awesome, amazing people and show other people, hey, this is what Arel is this is what Arel did to become successful. Now you could become successful. And I've actually changed my own message because of you and others. So my question to you, it's a long story short, is what are the first steps for others to find that authentic message that they need to have, that medium or that channeling or whatever? Like how would you guide them?
Yeah, there's a few segments that you have to look into. So there's the internal, the external, and then the market, right? So the internal is, what are the experiences that you have intimate knowledge of that you can share with people? And this is so crucially important because I see so many people trying to teach people. Like I saw this one speaker and I just it made me so upset because she was teaching young people how to become millionaires. But she admitted she wasn't a millionaire, and her rationale was, well, I didn't know the stuff that I'm teaching you at your age. And to me, she lost complete credibility in my mind, because don't speak about something that you don't know. A lot of people ask me, hey, well, how could you speak for 6 hours out of, I do a lot of corporate talks as well and a lot of development, and I can go for 6 hours without PowerPoint. And I say, well, how can you do that? Well, it's because I know the topic so intimately well. Like if I were to say, hey, Ash, tell me about your mom and everything that you love about her, you don't need PowerPoint. You don't need slides to tell me about that, because it's something that's a part of your life.
Yep.
So the first thing is you look at your life and you say, what is it that I've already accomplished, that I have intimate knowledge of, that I can share with people? And it could be anything. It could be financial background. It could be business. It could be marketing, something that you've already accomplished. That's the internal game. The external game is asking yourself, what is it, who is it that needs to hear this message that I can speak to? So some people may want to speak to students. Some people may want to speak to business owners. Some people may want to speak to associations and corporations and those type of groups. So you have to say, so for example, if I have this amazing talk on how to market your business, that's a great message that may not be a good fit for middle school students. So if you have a desire to speak to middle school students, but the only thing that you have background knowledge in is marketing a business, it's not a good fit. So you have to first say, who is it? What is it that I can do within myself? Who is it that I want to speak to? And then the marketing component is, how do I position what I do in front of the right people who have the money and the budget to want to be able to bring me in and pay for it? So, for example, I do a lot with associations now and corporations, and I didn't do that a couple of years ago. And the main reason I didn't do it is I didn't know who was buying that. Like, I knew that it existed, but I had no idea who were the people to get in front of. And before I spoke at colleges, I didn't speak at high schools because I had no idea who to get in front of for the high school. But once I figured that out, I started speaking in high schools. So you have to know what you have on the inside, who needs it, and then how you get in front of those people and position yourself in a way that makes them say, you are the expert, I need you more than anything to speak, and whatever your price is, I'll pay it because it's that powerful.
Wow. Okay, so people who are hearing this is like seriously like the most golden knowledge you can get on how to become a communicator. Whether you want to become a speaker, whether you want to crush it in your corporate presentation, or whether you're just an entrepreneur looking to convey a message to get customers. What Arel just said is golden, and I really hope that everyone rehears this interview after. Thank God we archive these interviews. Arel, I want to go to the second kind of aspect of what this interview is about, which is being likable, how to be the most likable communicator. And you yourself have seen this as an opportunity to share with others, and you yourself have this awesome podcast show. Tell us a little more about being likable and why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah, so the funny thing is, when I first started in business, at the time I thought it was a curse, but it turned out 10 years later, when I'm looking back, as a blessing, and that's why faith is so important. When I started my entrepreneurial journey, I would reach out to successful people, and I had literally nothing to offer them. This is before I became a best-selling author. This is before I had, which was the #1 career podcast on iTunes, and it's always a top-rated podcast called The Art of Likeability. It's before I wrote for Forbes. It's before I spoke at the White House. Like before I was called Inc. Magazine's 30 Under 30. Like before I had anything that people on the outside might look at and say, this person is of influence, so therefore I would like to respect them. Before I had any of that, my only thought was, if I could get people to at least like me, if I could get people like Ash Kumra or these mentors that I reached out to at an early age to say, he may not be able to give me anything, but man, oh man, do I see a lot of potential. Man, oh man, do I like this person. And if I felt like I could do that, at least they would give me a shot. And I said to myself, all I need is a shot. Like, I may not have anything and I may not be influential, but if you give me a shot, I will bust my hump to get there. So I started like unknowingly and then eventually knowingly applying and learning all of these principles to get people to say, hey, I like you, or hey, this is a cool person, or hey, I need to introduce you to somebody because of whatever reason. So it was years of literally not really having anything, but putting myself in a position to learn from great people. Now, a lot of people won't do that because they're like, oh, I want to make money in 3 months, and what you're saying is going to take 3 years, so I won't do it your way. And I'm like, well, look at that first 3 months from now, chances are they're in the same position they were 3 months ago. But if they did it this way and they actually put in work and hard effort, 3 years from now, their entire life could be completely changed. So it really, a lot of people like shortcuts, and, people who sell shortcuts usually are trying to sell you something. But I haven't found many shortcuts that really are effective. I found ways to be more efficient, but in terms of like dedication or hard work, you can't substitute that. You got to have a desire to give. So it's really what changed my life, was being able to build relationships and get people to like me. And then one of the skill sets that I have is being able to not just be able to do something, but to understand how and why I did it, and then be able to share that with people. So like on our podcast, we do a free episode every single week where we go into a different component of what it takes to really be likable, and it's very specific and very action-oriented, and that's what I'm really passionate about.
That's awesome. Well, I want to dive deeper into who is someone that is, give me a live example of, you said you have all these great mentors, and some mentors taught you about this whole likability and things like that. Give us an example of someone, and you don't have to use their name if you don't want, but just give us a case study that has impacted you specifically.
Yeah, I mean, one of the ones that I love talking about is someone who who's Michael Simmons.
Oh, yeah, great guy.
I'll shout from the rooftops that, like, Michael was one of the first people that changed my life over 10 years ago when I was just a college student, and I just wanted to make a difference. So one of the things that happened was I read his book, and it was an amazing book, an amazing read. And I was like, you know what, let me just reach out to him. So I reached out to him, not trying, and that's the biggest thing when people reach out for someone to be a mentor. They think that they have to impress them to get them to mentor them, and that's a complete fallacy. So, like, I get so many messages from people who say, I'm awesome in this, and I'm awesome in that, and you do good, but I know that I can be better, so I want you to help me be better. And I'm like, that doesn't compel me in any way to want to, like, literally what people don't realize when you reach out to someone for a mentor, that mentor has to literally take time away from their family and away from their business to give you their time to help you. And people don't realize, like, the more successful you become and the more you grind, their time is unbelievably invaluable. So when someone reaches out to me with the wrong mindset, I love to help, and I'll give them links and resources because I will help anyone who reaches out. But it doesn't make me want to give up my time to help them. Instead, you humble yourself. So I reached out to him and said, I read your book. I loved your book. Here is what about your book I loved. Here's what I'm doing. that I'm applying what you taught in your book, and I would love to be able to ask you some more questions regarding this to help me get clarity. Would you be available for a phone call or, coffee, a bite of coffee or whatever? So it's showing the person that I have so much to learn from you, and I've already learned from you. Here's what I've learned from you. I've already invested in your book. I've done research on you, and I just need some more help based on what you've shared. So it shows that you care. It shows that you have humility. So many people reach out and say, hey, you're in business. I'm in business. Let's connect. Nobody's going to return that message. But if it's like, you've done this, I've done this research, and I've already applied what you said, and here's my result, and I think I could do more if I can connect with you, that shows that you're part of 2% of the population who takes action. Because mentors waste so much time on people who aren't about taking action. So don't try to convince me on the action you will take. Show me the action you've already taken, and I'll want to invest all my time in you because I see something special in you. And that's how you become likable when you first reach out to someone.
Okay, I'm going to totally just take a different direction because you said, it's funny, when you say certain words and it triggers me to ask you follow-up questions. So you talked about taking actions, taking initiative. So as you know, like, I'm Mr. Dreamboard. I live and breathe and die off for Dreamboard. That's why I co-founded DreamItAlive.com. What role has goal-setting tools played in your life, and what do you use? Just so people can understand how you stay on top of your habits and goals.
Yeah, so you totally have to have, I never, ever, ever envision myself as I am. I always envision myself as who I want to be and what I have to do today to get there. So a perfect example is I wanted to reach out to a gentleman who knew everything about doing corporations and, those kind of talks. And I was like, I want this guy to mentor me, but like by the time when I was reaching out to him, I wasn't ready. So I had to say, who do I have to become so that this person takes me seriously? So I started envisioning, what type of work that I'm doing, who I am, how good I am at my craft. And I have like vivid images that I, one, replay in my head, and two, that I actually look at, so that's why the dream board is so absolutely powerful, because you have to have a vision of who you want to be 9 times stronger than who you are right now. Because a lot of people will look at their life right now, and I live never being satisfied, being fulfilled, but never satisfied. So if I look at my life right now, and I say, well, I don't have this, I don't have this, I don't have this, I haven't accomplished this, that's going to literally punch me in the stomach and put me to my knees. But if I can envision, here's where I want to go, here's what I want to be, and then get there, then I become excited. And this is the thing that nobody talks about, and I haven't read this anywhere, and I honestly believe this is the key to goal setting and dream boarding, that it's so powerful that it literally changed my life faster than any other like mental tool. And I don't hear anyone talking about it, so I'm really excited you asked that because I want to share it.
Okay.
There has to be an intersection between what you're dreaming about and what you believe is possible in your life. And this is very important. Let me explain it, right?
Okay.
A lot of people say, all right, I'm going to have this dream board, and I'm on this yacht, and I got all this, like, champagne around me, and, like, Jay-Z's hanging out with me because I'm so baller. But then if you ask them, do you really genuinely believe that you can get there right now? Usually the answer is like, well, that's a dream, but I don't believe it's possible. That's not motivating. Like, if your dream, like, I want to make $50,000 per month. The thing is, if you're only making $2,000 per month, the jump from $2,000 to $50,000 is so massive that most people won't actually believe that that's possible, so they'll think it's a pipe dream, so they won't take any action towards it. What I've decided to do was say, hey, if I make $2,000 a month, my dream is to make $2,500. And people say, oh, that's shooting too low. I say, no, but $500 extra dollars might change my life, and that would get me excited, and that seems real. And then once I hit $2,500, well, I can't be, like, I'm fulfilled, but I'm not satisfied. So now I jump it up to $3,500, and then $5,000, and $10,000, and $20,000. But the dream has to be something that you genuinely, honestly believe is possible for you. And everybody is going to be different on this spectrum. But if you're dreaming about a Mercedes and you're driving a 1989 Toyota Corolla. Maybe you need to dream about the 2001 Corolla or the, Lexus ES350 versus the Maybach Benz. And then as soon as you achieve it, that gets you momentum. And the momentum gets you excited. And that excitement gets you through the tough times, and you actually achieve your goals faster than if you just live your life surrounded by a pipe dream that you yourself don't believe is true. So I'm a big believer in dreaming about where that intersection of excitement intersects with reality. And that's where my dream board now is focused on, and what I would encourage a lot of people to play around with.
That's awesome. Wow. Well, Arel, what are some of the future dreams that you have that you'd like to accomplish in 2015? And this was actually from one of our audience members, Nicole had asked this. We're starting to get some questions in. What is that question?
Specifically in 2015, I'm all about systemizing my business and getting at a higher level of impact. Here's what I mean by that. I love what I do. I spoke 70 to 80 times this year. And I traveled around the country, and I absolutely love doing that. And I want to continue that. But I want to ask myself, how do I systemize my business so that I can speak less, impact more people, and have more time to spend with my family? So the way I envision it is getting down to, so I impacted tens of thousands of people. I want to get to the point where, so in my career, I've impacted 200,000 people. I want to get to the point where I can impact and measurably say I've impacted in a serious way through my speaking 100,000 people, but I was only on the road for 40 events a year versus 70. So when I have my impact increase, my travel time decrease, which will allow me to work on bigger projects. Like my Art of Likeability podcast is listened to in over 123 countries. And I want to be able to grow that impact and then grow the services I offer. But my time is limited because I'm on the road. So I want to be able to systemize my business so that not only is my impact greater, but my time has increased as well. But I'm making a bigger impact. So that's what I'm most excited about in 2015, and that's what feels real to me. Obviously, I'd love to make $20 million and do all that stuff, but that's on the horizon. What I'm working on now is, specifically for my lifestyle, how do I almost half my travel, but double my impact? And that's what I'm most excited about.
Love it. Love it. Okay, well, Caitlin has another question for you, and she wanted to know, hey, Arel, I've been watching a lot of these great speakers, and believe it or not, I actually saw you speak 2 years ago, which is why I wanted to get on this show and hear your story. My question to you is how are you going to change your speaking style as you get older, or are you planning to stick to the same speaking style and message?
Well, I'm definitely anyone who's ever had, and you've had these conversations with me personally, Ash. Like I said, I'm fulfilled but never satisfied.
Yeah.
I always look at every single event that I do, and I say, I could have been better. How can I get better? And it's like, okay, I did this really well, but maybe I need to learn how to tell stories better, or maybe I need to learn how to have more improv. So I can't be America's top young speaker for the rest of my life, and I'm very aware of that limitation. But I have to ask myself, how do I improve how I deliver a message so that I can achieve certain results? So maybe that's me saying, all right, I did a really great job at impacting lives, but I want to get a standing ovation. And the reason why I want to get a standing ovation is because I know a standing ovation equals emotional connection.
Yep.
And if I have not emotionally connected with people enough, I don't get a standing ovation. So now my goal is to have the goal of getting a standing ovation for 7 presentations in a row and understanding why I was able to do that. So I always look at what I do from this 100,000, 10,000 foot view, but then nail in on a specific characteristic trait. And for me, I'm able to focus on one specific thing. I'm lucky enough to do that. I'm totally blessed enough to do that because I speak so much. So I can focus on one little itty-bitty thing and then get really good at that and then focus at something else. And then over time, that compounds into a very powerful new style of delivery. So for me, it's not about a 100% overhaul. It's about getting better in these micro components and then having the sum of its parts being greater than the whole.
Okay. No, that makes total sense. Well,
and ask Emily what event she was at. I'm always curious to know which people. So if you're here, let me know which event you were at. I'm always curious.
Yeah, well, I'll have her send a tweet out to you, and she can respond back. So, Kaylin, if you're hearing this, send a tweet out to Arel and let him know which event you're at. It's pretty cool. This last question's from Deepak, and Deepak had a question saying, "Hey, Arel, love this message, love what you're about. What are your thoughts about other countries like India and other parts of Asia?" I guess he's trying to ask from a speaking perspective. Like, I mean, what are your thoughts on the audiences there? Like, how you said you've been to 5 countries. So I guess I'm going to take what he said and expand it. You've been to 5 countries. What's the audiences like in, let's say, countries in Asia and Europe versus America?
Mm-hmm. So there's, I wish I could say there was like one thing that makes someone a great speaker, but there's literally thousands of moving parts. And one of the most important moving parts is understanding who you're speaking to. And you'll hear that as kind of like speaker 101. You have to understand your demographic. So for example, when I speak outside of the country, I spoke in Switzerland. And, you know, from my understanding, from my research, they were a little bit more serious, if you will, than what I would consider an American audience to be, like maybe a little bit more strict. So I have to do my research on every other country to understand social norms, understand etiquette. So I'm still going to be myself, but depending upon where I am, I turn the volume up or turn the volume down. So if I'm speaking outside of the country like I did in Switzerland, I was still, you know, my same energy and my same high volume, but maybe I wasn't asking the audience to do a call and response or asking the audience to jump up and sit down because culturally that wouldn't fit for them. I'm still going to be true to who I am, but it just means be who I am, understand my audience, and turn the volume up or turn the volume down of my personality depending upon where I am. And that comes from good old-fashioned Google, good old-fashioned research, good old-fashioned tapping your social media message and say, like, I'd go on Twitter if I was speaking in a new country and say, hey, I'm going to be speaking in India. Where are all my friends that are from India? I got some questions for you. And try to get their feedback on the micro level and then macro level, do my research on. Then I like to ask people I know who've actually spoken there, and I say, hey, have you ever spoken here? What's been your response? What's that been like? What went right? What went wrong? And hopefully I can piggyback off of their knowledge base and become better and hopefully learn from it as I do it as well.
Okay, awesome. Well, Arel, I got one last question for you before we go, and that question is what is a bulletproof outline on how to become likable?
Oh, great question. So there's a few tenets that I teach. Here are the most, I don't want to say most important, but here are if I say anyone, where do you start? Here's where you focus. The first thing is you have to use the idea of what I call the stage light principle. What that basically is, if you are at a Broadway play, there's someone in the back, not stage, like spotlight. There's someone with the spotlight. That person shines the spotlight on the actor, right? You have to live your life in which you are shining light on other people. And what I mean by that is put the focus and attention on that person. It's one of the easiest bulletproof ways to be liked. When I meet someone, I rarely ever talk about myself because everyone always meets someone and talks about themselves. They talk about how amazing they are. Like I literally have friends that I live with who have no idea that I've accomplished 9 out of the 10 things that I've accomplished because I put the attention so much on them. I don't hide it. If they ask me about it, I totally share. But when I meet people, I shine the spotlight on them. I ask them, how was your day? And I don't interrupt with what my experiences were. I'm totally focused on what their experiences were. I delve deeper, and I figure out, once the spotlight's on them, you have to figure out how you can help them with literally no desire to get anything back. I'm going to help someone move and never, ever bring up again how I helped them move and how they owe me a favor. Because they know, and they'll feel it, and they'll want to help me without me saying so. I'll make an introduction for people just because I solely believe they should connect and no other reason. So when you shine the spotlight on someone, you make it all about them, inquire about them. And then the last component is when you're shining the spotlight and you're helping, I want you to imagine you're a detective. And I want you to imagine that the person you're speaking to is the most interesting human being in the world, and it's your job to find out why this person is so interesting. And if you already know this person, assume between the last time you saw them and now, something absolutely amazing happened, and you have to figure out what it is. So you're going to give them total presence, you give them total, but you want to be like, hey, so what's new? What's exciting? What have you done outside of this? Oh, you did do this? Oh my gosh, tell me more. I never heard anything about that. Or, hey, I heard a little bit about that. Tell me more. Like, I become so interested in the person that by default, I become interesting. And people will say, well, I don't understand why, this person is the way they are, but I just like them. And what you're really doing is giving the attention to that person. You're shining the spotlight, you're helping them, and you're investigating on why they're so interesting. And if you apply those simple ideas, you will hands down increase the likability, hands down improve how people interact with you, and it'll be game changing. And if you want more tips and tricks like that, but more specific stuff, I would definitely check out the free podcast on iTunes called The Art of Likeability, and we go over new stuff every week.
Awesome. Wow. Well, Arel, first off, thank you so much for making the world be a better place, and thank you so much for doing what you're doing, and I can't wait to continue to see your amazing success. And again, really, thank you for making the world better. You've inspired so many people, me included, and it's awesome what you're all about, man.
Well, I can only do that because I have a network of people who are greater than me, and you're part of that network. So I just every day want to compete with you, but also keep up with you.
Thanks, bro. Have a good day.
All right. Peace out, family. Everyone tweet me too, man. Send me some tweets. I want to hear what I thought about. Don't be shy now. Arel Moodie, let me know what you thought. I'd love to connect with you and help you in any way I can. Honestly, truly, any way I can, I'll help.
Awesome.